Andy Johnson, Minnesota State University. We are talking about how to teach writing. You teach the process to develop the skill. You teach the 5 steps: pre-write, draft, revise, edit, share, publish. This is step 4, edit. And one way to screw up the writing process is to get students editing during steps 1, 2, or 3. You do not edit until step 4. And editing is where you look for grammar, spelling, and punctuation errors. You've shaped your paper. It reads the way you want it to read. You got rid of the bad stuff and it's all there. It's just perfect. Then you do the editing. Then you look for grammar, spelling, and punctuation. Now, if you try to edit as you pre-write, draft, and revise, it takes up space, limited space in short-term memory. You should be looking for ideas in steps 1, 2, and 3, generating ideas, organizing ideas, shaping ideas. And we don't have a lot of space up here for also trying to edit. So it ruins the process if you do the editing before step 4. Now, there's a couple simple tricks here for self-editing to teach students how to do this. Grades 1 through graduate school, give them a simple checklist. And the checklist should contain the things that you are teaching. Now remember, we do teach skills, many lessons in the context of the writing. Boys and girls, I saw a lot of people had trouble with sentences today in their writing. I was looking at your drafts, and the sentences were not complete. Now, a sentence is a complete idea. You have a mini lesson up front. You demonstrate 2 to no more than 10 minutes. And you don't assume they learn any skill with one exposure, so you repeat. So you have taught these things. You can give them a checklist. They can say yes or no to these things as they review their paper. This is self-editing. And use a simple checklist. This one, Appendix B, is one I use for my graduate course. I keep it as simple as possible. Keep them simple. You can find a lot of ideas online for this. You can use pictures. Now, rubrics I do not recommend. They just get all complicated. They take a lot of work. With a checklist, you can differentiate for high and low ability writers, but this rubric thing is just takes so much time and energy, and it's just not very good. So I do not use rubrics. I like to use a rating checklist of some kind like this. Much easier and get much better feedback, much better for giving feedback. You just give them a number and they read their paragraph where they're at. No. And the thing with rubrics, all this stuff, well, a student could be part of number 4 and part of number 3. So where do you put them? They're not all of this. Rubrics are more work than they are work. Now, spell check and grammar. You cannot assume that students know this, even at the graduate level and undergrad. Did you run it through the spell check? Here is how you use grammar. And here's the thing with spell check and grammar. They are little mini lessons on the computer as they teach students the correct spelling and grammar. Peer editing is a powerful thing. Now, there's 2 ways you can do this. Stations. You designate a day where everyone is going to edit a piece of writing. They have a piece of writing that they have edited, and they're ready to put it through the process. So you focus on 4 to 6 skills. You break students up into groups, and they each have a single skill, one of those 4 to 6 skills to look at. And they're papers at different stations. So you take students' papers, and you prefer that they not have their names on it. You mix it up, and you spread them around the room, and students rotate through each station. You have the checklist for them to look at with their skills. So at each station, the sentence group is looking just for sentences at that station. 5 to 10 minutes, they move all the way around, rotate through all the stations, and these papers should be peer edited. Now, you can move students around the papers, or you can move papers around the students. You could have students groups and they just pass the papers around. You decide. With younger students, I like to have stations where students move because young students need to get up and moving. The editing table. Again, you have the checklist. Students who have completed their own edits using writing workshop where students are at all different stages, they bring their work back to the editing table. In here you have 2 to 4 student editors who are working with a paraprofessional or parent to older students to edit. And that older student parent professional acts as kind of a mentor to help them through. Now, every student in class should have a chance to be part of the editing team. You use a checklist. If you have a lot of students, you can have 2 editing tables, but usually 1 editing table at a time is good. The editing table, peer editing, a mentor working with them. All right, we will look at step 5, which is sharing and publishing next.